8 signs that someone is in a relationship with a gaslighter. How gaslighters will emotionally traumatize, exploit, and manipulate their victim. What is a gaslighter? Search for a counselor who is experienced in manipulative behavior. If you are told a lie or repeated enough times, the lie will become accepted as being the truth. Various sources. Some people try to stand taller than others by cutting off the heads of their counterparts. Yogananda. A gaslighter is someone who persistently brainwashes and manipulates his victim to an extent that she begins to doubt herself. In the severest of forms, she will completely lose her self-worth, identity, and sense of perception. Statements used by gaslighters are generally exaggerations of the truth of blatant lies. The term was first used back in 1944, when the film by the same name came out. In the film Gaslight, a husband causes his wife to believe she is going insane by constantly questioning herself and her reality. Gaslighting can occur in mild or severe form. In the more subtle forms, the gaslighter creates a power dynamic in a relationship by judging, scrutinizing, being aggressive to his partner, his judgment being based on unreasonable or exaggerated truths that are generally not fact-based. When a gaslighter really takes a hold of his victim, he will exhibit a control over the mind of his victim and will be frequently psychologically abusive to her. Gaslighting doesn't just occur in personal relationships with emotional, physical, and verbal abuse. It can also occur in the workplace, where a boss constantly treats his employee unfairly. Gaslighting can also occur on a national scale, when controlling public figures or politicians make pronouncements that are contrary to the good of the public. It is important to note that not all gaslighters are actually conscious of their harmful conduct, and not all gaslighters are intentionally malicious. Some gaslighters have bought into negative prejudices and social norms from their community, society at large, peer groups, or even their family. They therefore may not actually be fully aware of how hurtful and harmful their actions and words are, and the pain and impact they are having on others. Other gaslighters, however, deliberately go out to destroy lives and gain power over their victims, and are truly aware of their coercive tactics. There have been many writings and studies that have been focused on the destructive impact of gaslighting. So, how do you recognize the signs of a gaslighter and become aware if you are dealing with one? Below, we will detail 8 telltale signs that I have taken from my own book on how to handle psychological bullying and gaslighters. Whilst relationships can sometimes fall prey to one of these issues, this should not be a major cause of concern. A pathological gaslighter will constantly be subjecting his victim to the experiences below, whilst remaining sometimes unaware of the impact his machinations have on his victim. Here are the 8 signs that someone is in a relationship with a gaslighter. Before we get to any of that, please make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified every single time we post a new video, since that's by far the best way to support the channel. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to it. Number 1. He constantly reminds you of your flaws. One of the most clear signs that you are dealing with a gaslighter, whether at work or in a personal relationship, is when you are constantly being reminded of your weaknesses and shortcomings. You end up feeling that you are not good enough and that there's something wrong with you. Gaslights use negative stereotypes and disparaging remarks to emotionally hurt his victim. His comments and accusations are not meant for discussion. They are said to put his victim on the defensive. By being attacked on a personal level, you will feel vulnerable. The gaslighter then creates a power over you, ensuring that he can carry on harming and exploiting you to his or her advantage. Number 2. You are uncertain and insecure. If you are in a gaslighting relationship, chances are that you will feel unsure about yourself and anxious. You will be unsure of what is expected of you and the way in which you should behave. You will constantly be wary and wondering when the gaslighter will act up again. You may find you question your integrity and start to think that you are not a worthy friend, employee, or partner. Number 3. You are constantly walking on eggshells. Can't you see that these picture frames aren't straight? How many times have I told you to make sure they're straight when you dust them? God, you are stupid. Anonymous. Another sure sign that you are dealing with a gaslighter is when you feel that you can no longer express yourself freely. Anything you do is wrong, so in his presence, you feel tense and nervous as you are constantly waiting to be picked on or accused of something you haven't done. You may start to feel anxious, stressed, depressed, or you may start to experience trauma. You may start to monitor and correct the way you act compulsively, this being an obsessive-compulsive symptom common to victims of gaslighter. You fear that you are doing things wrong and that you will be ridiculed by the gaslight. You will feel happier when you are away from the gaslighter and his influence. In his or her company, you may feel like you are going out of your mind. Number 4. The gaslighter becomes aggressive when you criticize and rarely admit flaws. In a relationship with a gaslighter, the gaslighter will constantly be on the attack, and his gaslightee on the defensive. It is rare to find a gaslighter who is willing to talk about his shortcomings or flaws. If you criticize a gaslighter, he will quickly cover up his own inadequacies using blame and excuse making. He will quickly redirect the conversation back to your direction, launching new false claims and accusations. By using this tactic, the gaslighter avoids scrutiny and quickly takes the focus off him and his trespasses. Number 5. You may make self-disparaging remarks. After spending some time with a gaslighter, you may start to make self-disparaging remarks. This is because it is his aim to distort the way you see yourself and your identity through ridicule. You will start to believe the accusations and negative comments, and you will feel negative about yourself, rejecting your own background, values, and qualities. I used to live in a household where the women were always treated as second class. For a long time after this, I would make racist and sexist remarks about women and myself as I had bought into the negative stereotype. I only realized that I had been doing that when I moved out. Anonymous. Probably the most commonly used phrase by someone who uses self-disparaging remarks is saying, "I'm sorry," when you are the one who has been mistreated. This is one of the classical signs that you are in a gaslighting relationship. Number 6. Despite being treated poorly, you look to the gaslighter for validation, acceptance, and approval. Many gaslighters will manipulate their victim with negative hostility that can also be combined with occasional bribery of a positive kind. In a bid to avoid tension, the gaslightee becomes compliant, believing that if she does so, she will receive better treatment. This is the start of a codependent relationship. The Oxford definition of codependency in a relationship being excessive psychological or emotional reliance on a partner. In a gaslighting relationship, the gaslight has the power to grant respect, approval, safety, and security. The gaslighter also has the power to take those things away and often threatens to do so. By using this tactic, he or she retains entitlement, privilege, and power. Number 7. You excuse and hide the coercion of the gaslighter. In an example of the psychology of an abused person, the victim will feel powerless, overwhelmed, or ashamed when in the presence of the gaslighter. They may put on a brave face and try and cover up the psychological abuse, or they may pretend everything is okay and go into denial. When friends or family raise their concerns, the victim may come up with excuses for the gaslighter along the lines of, "He doesn't mean it, he's just stressed at the moment. It was my fault I made him angry," or "It's just me, I am oversensitive at the moment." Number 8. You feel alone and or stuck. When you have fallen into the clutches of a gaslighter, you may feel stuck and alone for all the reasons described above. Some victims will isolate themselves, whilst others with social contacts will hesitate to confide in a friend or reveal the hardship they are suffering. Many think that if they behave, things will get better and will change for the better. Many victims of gaslighters cry silent, knowing deep down that they deserve far better. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified every single time we post a new video, since that's by far the best way to support this channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.